Look at this. Look, this dude right here, he holding a whole castle in his hand. He got the whole world in his hand. Look, and he got a scimitar, right? So start to do the knowledge to this, and then remember, this is all happening during the so-called Moorish Empire, right? Now, when you look at images of this dude, if you see a correlation, because if the Dark Ages were the time that these so-called people or Rome was put back in the icebox, and now the so-called kingdom has been established on earth, right? And during this same Dark Age time, these so-called Moors are the ones in control, then wouldn't that mean that the Moorish Empire itself was this resurrected kingdom of this dude? Look at these Moors with the fezzes on. Look at this dude with the fez right here. Look at this dude. Look, what's that on his head? And who was he right next to? He right next to the man. Do the knowledge. Do knowledge. Look, everybody got crowns on. Everybody got burnouses on. Everybody got the same Moorish habit shit that we be wearing right now. Look at this dude. Where the white folks at? Where they at? They're not in here. Look, same dude, same type of shit. Look. Didn't we read in Stanley Lane Poole, Story of the Moors in Spain, that these Moors came over there and had heavy technology, that their technology was so upstairs that the Romans didn't have no way of dealing with them. Didn't they say that about the Moors? Where the Moors get it from then? And why was they all dressed the same way this dude was dressed? We don't see anything strange in that. You don't see anything symbolic in that. Think about it. This the king. Look, this the Sultan of Morocco from an old lithograph. Sultan bin Sid Mohammed Abdullah El. Excuse me. And look what he got on. Wait. Well, who they dress like? They dress like these dudes. These dudes that was allegedly running this so-called kingdom that somehow miraculously came on earth and made basically Moors like superhumans. They said that the Moors were so upstairs with knowledge that they not only had paved streets of gold. Now you can read the Alhambra by Washington Irving, and this is a white man talking all of this. He said the technology that they had was otherworldly. They said that they had water that one half of the year flowed up the fountain and the other half of the year flowed the other way. How they do that? Where they get that from? And remember, we're the ones, the Moors were the ones who shut the whole Roman sector down, shut it down all the way, where they literally had to split it up, where there literally was no more Rome like that. The closest thing you had to Rome in the what they call Europe, which don't exist, remember, that's West Asia, was the Astara Kingdom. And it was very, very small. We literally thing, but because they knew how to fight and they was really still about what they was about, they kept it like that. But when you read Flavius Josephus, right? Flavius Josephus said that in his lifetime, he saw this. This is a depiction of what they say Flavius Josephus wrote. As well as Tacitus. He said that he saw the skies open up and the Son of Man and his armies come out and laid waste to everything. And from that time, erected a new paradise, a new kingdom. Right? So there's actual people who said they was there and seen it come down. They seen it happen. Then we start seeing all of the rise of all of these different types of, especially in Russia, because Russia wasn't there for the whole Reconquista and all of that. They shut everybody out to keep everything going the way it was. That's why the Russian patriarchs got so much of this stuff in there, because the white people couldn't go in there and fix it up after the kingdom and everything fell. So you start seeing all of these kingdoms of all of these images of these people with these uraeus around their heads in all different cultures, though. Because didn't they say that the Moorish Empire went around the entire world? And they got everybody on the same accord, to the point that at one point everybody on earth was speaking the same language. Didn't they say that? Now, their Bible says that that a day to God is 1,000 years to man. Right? This is where you start seeing all of these uraeus crowns and all of this other stuff start coming into view in iconography. You start seeing stuff like this. Right? What are these things telling us? What are they showing us? They're showing us that when they speak of the Moorish Empire, or the Moors in general, or even, let's say, Granada, it was the last stronghold, because that was the seat, or one of the seats by which we ran the entire world as heirs apparent to the so-called millennial kingdoms. That were the kingdoms of the Moors, because these are the people who shut down Rome, right? They say, oh, the Visigoths did that. No, the Visigoths were Romans. Remember? The Visigoths were Romans. The Vandals were Romans. The Italians are Romans. The Spaniards are Romans. All of these people are Romans. The French are Romans. The Germans are Romans. So they got a new way that they are able to date documents based on the old clay tablets that they had in ancient Samaria, ancient Mesopotamia, both Mesopotamia over there and over here. This tablet right here is an old Sumerian tablet that's actually like a receipt. This is how niggas used to have like receipts. You would have your clay tablet and then you would etch in. So some of them, this was like the old school BlackBerry. So these would be good for like receipts, or telling the story of the family, or whatever like that, right? So in these clay tablets, each one of these clay tablets they found at the core of it actually has a magnetic field, right? Yes, the prophet said, give Christianity back to Rome. However, the Circle 7 also gives respect to Isa, and it talks about all of the different places that he spread the gospel, right? Talks about him in India, talks about him in China, right? This is, so what we're reading, what I'm starting to surmise is what we're reading is how the empire expanded after the second, after the destruction of the temple and after Rome fell. This is when the dark ages, which is really the golden ages, began, and this is when he's spreading the gospel, right? And the Moors are spreading the gospel all over the world. So they did it. They got a new way to date everything, right? So this is why the prophet said, Moors, don't get rid of your Bibles. So peep this. The Moro of Indian literature is none other than the Moro, right? Moro, and Sheba of the Sudan, a primeval Moro that was long ago lost to the cataclysm. The four kingdoms of Saka were the Maga, the Magna, the Masaka, and the Mansa, like Mansa Musa, and the Mandaga. The Maga or Magians or the Maka or the Persian instruction. So all of those are more. Then you have the Masakas from the Mahabharata, and then you have the Kastriyas, right? So all of these families result in what they call the Medians, who have a four-parent family connection to the ancient Mandi speakers of so-called Africa. Remember the Mandis, the Malay, and all of it, these are more, right? Especially the Manding, who often accompanied Dravidians out of Middle Africa into Asia. This explains the close relationship between who? The Elamite and the Manding languages. The Elamite are the Proto-Sumerians. They're the Proto-Babylonians. The Kushite first cousins, Kushite Mandi kingdom lines of the Olmec Asians traveled to the southeast of West Nubia, Sudan, and formed the kingdoms of the Mayas, the Incas, the Arawaks, the Caribs, the Chicahuayas, and in South America. So in dating this, they found that within the magnetic field of these clay tablets, that there was a certain time, right? That in dating it, that around, right? So these are the Jones from Mesopotamia. So they start peeping it that within certain time frames, that through this, they're able to date how high the magnetic field of the planet was at the time, right? And now look, this period right here, represents the time that we would say or refer to as the Dark Ages, or the time that the Moors was running everything. See how high the magnetic sphere got during this period? This is why when you read the story of Elaine Poole and all of that, they talked about how Granada had, or why a lot of these ancient structures didn't have no bathrooms. Like we had vibrated to the point that we wasn't even producing waste the way that regular people was, which is why we was in these so-called exemplified bodies, right? Look, this is also why so many of us were Christian. Remember I talked to you about the Nestorian Christians? how they was fighters, how these niggas basically went to war with whoever was trying to stop them from bringing forth the kingdom of God on earth as it is in heaven. This is what I'm talking about. This is why when you read the Washington Irving book on Granada and all of that, he said that the Moors, the Christians, and the Muslims were at such a high level of science and peace that one could not tell one from the other, because they all worship God and call Allah or God by the same name. What was the name that Yeshua was calling God? Remember, he spoke Aramaic. So what name was he calling God? Yes, Dan. Ella or Allah. Yeah, Allah or Elaha. So the Muslims is calling them Allah. The Aramaics is calling them Allah. And then the Jews, the Hebrews, is calling them Elaha or Elihu. Exactly. Because the true Christians are Nazarenes. The true Christians are Moors. Because we're the ones that ushered in the kingdom. And then in that became the visage of his position, or the position of Allah or Elaha or Allah on earth. Look at what I'm saying. Look at this. This is also why the Moorish Empire or the Moorish kingdoms had to be shut down, and why we didn't even know that the Moors existed until a certain time. Think about that. We were made to believe, this is what I'm saying, like, we were made to believe so much stuff that ain't true about us and our history, that we just would take the tribal aspect of it and thought it was true. Like when we got knowledge of self, and then we grew up Christian and it found out that the white Jesus wasn't real and all of that, we railed against that, right? And then we went in and became Muslim, or let's say Islamic, right? And then we start getting into that and start realizing, hey, a lot of these Muslims, a lot of these pale Arab niggas is wilding with this shit. Like, I'm not looking at it, I'm not on it like that. Right? That's what we did. And then we get to a certain understanding where we realize that what we see as religion and what we see as spirituality and what we see as coming into our own or ourself is actually us accepting that Allah exists in the heart. Because that's where then what did Yeshua say? He said the kingdom of God dwells within, right? What the prophets say? He said the kingdom is in the heart. What is the heart represented by? Leo. When did this dark ages and everything happen? During the age of Leo. So that's what I'm saying. Look, this is one of the most famous paintings of them all. I hate these things. When it says that we are tied to the vine, we're tied to the blood, like this is what they're talking about. We're divinely reflective of he who manifested and came. And in that, this is where all of these so-called black nobility families and all of this shit came from. When we was thinking that all of Europe was white and all of that, we're looking at the fake pictures that they created with it, right? But that's not the real imagery. That's not what was really going on. The real imagery is the stuff that we're looking at right now. This is what was actually popping at the time. And all of these so-called people, all of these so-called Moors, right, came in the game, and they basically were of the same ilk, to the point that they literally, what other people on earth dressed like the same person that they was allegedly fighting against? Think about that. How could they be ushering in this new kingdom and all of this stuff that happened while at the same time fighting against them? Because they was fighting against those Moors who was still caught up with Rome and was still allying themselves with the false prophets and all of that. And so they couldn't maintain their version of Christianity because that was fake. That was on the way out. Remember? And remember, the Moors always allowed the so-called Christians to live amongst them. They would just have to pay the jizya, right? Which was the tax for people who weren't so-called Islamic. But the Islamism that they was dealing with is not the same Islam that these Arabs is dealing with today. I know that's a fact. It can't be, because we not worshiping the same thing. Where is this one image? I'm gonna just use this one. That's what all of these black nobility families was. That's why King James and them could claim that they were descended from the king and that they were descended from this, because all of us in the bloodline that existed during that reign descended from those people who were there during the reign. And that reign was all under the jurisdiction, or was ushered in, by the Moorish Empire. Look, who this look like? Who dressed like this? Who used to dress like this, bro? What Arab you know dressed like this? None. None. What Arabs you know was dressing like this? None. Except the Moorish ones. And what are they emulating in the dress? Who do they look like in their habit? Exactly. That was the one thing that was cool about the Book of Clarence, was seeing all of those melanated, all of those people dressed as Moors. Did you see that? That's what I liked. It was like watching all of these Moors. It was like watching a whole thing with Moors in it. And it showed you, right, the difference between how they had their own jurisdiction, but the Romans was there above them, and they were there trying to get rid of any Messiah that came into they influence. And at the time, they was waiting, just like now, like they waiting for which Messiah is going to come up that we either can't control or is going to destroy all of this shit for us. But look, who he dressed like? Who dressed like this? The turban, or any type of headgear which represents your national origin or identity, helps keep you segmented or part of different aspects of society that people that look like us are usually excluded from, due to the fact that we're seen to be or represent those who don't have an identity or not supposed to. So the turban itself identifies you as being a part of one of the ancient cultures that, had a predisposition to honor the non-physical world as much as they did the physical. So it basically is like a way for you to identify yourself outside of the modern timeline. Most people wouldn't see it like that, but that's essentially what it is. It puts you back into an ancient correspondence because, like, when the last time you ever see somebody in a turban do a drive-by? Think about it. When the last time you seen somebody in the feds do a stick-up or a crime or a bank robbery or anything like that? Maybe that happens in India where turbans are common, but here in America, you've never seen that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've never seen it. So it shows you that there's a certain degree, there's a certain vibration that type of energy dictates, or at least emits, that challenges the modern mores that keep so-called black people locked up in identity politics. It automatically takes you outside of that, because most people are wondering, what are you? Are you a Muslim? Are you, right? But you may be none of those things. You know what I'm saying? The other question on the floor is, what's up with the Civil War in Texas? So that looks like it's going to turn into a cluster fuck situation. It's basically a push and pull situation. Biden, or I should say the regime, or the people controlling that person, or that thing that they call Biden, or let's call him Dark Brandon. The people that's controlling Dark Brandon, they not they're trying to push everything into a civil war, so that way it could also be on time with the movie, so they could sell it even more to the mass populace. That is something that they really want, that they want to do. But essentially what's really happening is this guy is fighting to keep the country open, to bring more and more terrorists into the country. That's what he's there to do, because he was hired by China. Him and his son was hired by China through the dealings that they was doing through the Wuhan shit and all that, Ukraine, to destroy the country. So he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's there to destroy the country, and he has enough mouthpieces and scared niggas around him that he'll never have to, really deal with the repercussions of it, most likely. So he's gonna push for that, but it's not gonna happen the way he wants. The other thing too is that the nonprofit organizations are being subsidized by the so-called Biden administration to act as middlemen between them and the cartels. So that way, all the children that's coming up, they can sell them easily, so they can stop using Wayfair and Amazon and all that type of shit to allegedly to be able to traffic these children through. You know what I'm saying? It's getting too hectic for them to do that through the internet like that right now. So they gotta find different ways to, keep the pipeline flowing. So this is a good way for them to be able to continue that, as well as all of the nonprofit agencies that get all of the money for all of the children that they're selling, in these processes. So we should definitely do the knowledge to that, because again, he's running the biggest human trafficking operation since the transatlantic slave trade, and everybody's down with it, and everybody's okay with him doing it. Nobody is trying to stop him from doing it, so that means they all down with it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what that is. So those people that don't think that human trafficking and stuff like that is bad, those are the people who will be labeled as terrorists or whatever else, because we're living in an inverted, we're part of a satanic regime. Well, not we're a part of it, but a satanic regime is basically trying to really, this is its last chance to really establish itself the way it really, really want to, because it knows it's over. So this is the way that they want to do it, the hill they're going to die on. So he would rather go to war with United States within the states to keep the human trafficking and all of that going till they get enough of the foreign soldiers in here through this program, so that way they can activate them when the time is right. But it ain't gonna go the way that they want. I'm telling you, it's as great as a plan that them niggas think it's really not gonna work like that. It's not gonna be that simple. Like, it's too many variables. One, there are more guns in America than there are Americans. You understand what I'm saying? Number two, most of the nuclear joints, a lot of the nuclear shit is right in Texas. So it ain't gonna go the way that they want. Michelle Obama, what's thoughts on Michelle Obama as U.S. court president? It's a good pipe dream. It's a good fever dream, but it's not gonna happen. Nobody likes Michelle like that. The only people that like Michelle like that are black boule females. You know what I'm saying? Nobody else fuck with Michelle Obama like that. They don't like with Obamas like that. They think they do, and the Obamas think they do because they be around a bunch of Hollywood niggas. But Hollywood niggas don't even be fucking with them like that. They don't rock with them like that. They don't like them like that. The only people that think Obama and them is dope are the Obamas. That's it. Nobody's really chilling with. When the last time you seen Obama chilling with Denzel and all that? It was cool when he was president, but niggas don't really fuck with him like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, only white people think that black people still like that nigga. Unless he giving out new phones or some sort of fake stimmy or something like that. People don't give a damn about that nigga. Because he ain't never do nothing for nobody. Except gay people, Jewish people, and communists. That's it. That's it. That's the only people he look out for. Communists and maybe some rappers. He ain't pardon no rappers when he came out. Trump pardoned all the rappers. What you talking about? And again, I'm not saying that he's even that much better. What I'm saying that out of everybody, he's the best of the worst. If you're in that political strata like that, like if you really caught up in what's happening with that, then yeah, he's gonna be your last hope. You know what I'm saying? Because everything they do against this nigga don't work. Like you would think they would realize that by now. Every trap they try to put in or around this nigga, for something happened and it backfire on them horribly. And then what happens? Then he's out it. Then they look, Fanny about to be indicted. They're about to indict Fanny. Like, it's over. Yeah, it's a psyop. Mark said sounds like a mass advertising psyop to promote the Civil War. The movie, that's what I'm saying. And the movie, this premise is ridiculous. California would never ally itself with Texas. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you was like, okay, the war is coming from New York and California working together, or California and like Oregon, okay, it's enough hippie commies up there. You know what I'm saying? Where you could plausibly make that an argument, maybe. It's enough Antifa, BLM, burnout niggas that's up there. Maybe they, you know what I'm saying? They might cause some trouble, blow some shit up, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the people that's targeting the food supply and all this type of shit, them people is trained military from China, from the Wagner group. You know what I'm saying? Von Clausewitz, who is one of the greatest military strategists and minds of the 19th century. He said politics is war by another means. You know what I'm saying? They teach von Clausewitz at the War College, just like right after you learn about Hannibal and shit. You know what I'm saying? But the tide is turning on all that. All that shit is, yeah, West Point too. Yep. The War College, West Point, yep. So yeah, it's a mass psyop to force everybody into believing that the world is gonna end, you know what I'm saying, and blow up or whatever they say it's gonna do, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But whatever, man. I mean, you know, what are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like between the 3 days of darkness and the end and the falling of, it's like, come on, man. It's like whatever this y'all niggas is planning, what you want to keep. Oh, it's coming. Something's gonna come. It could be this. It could be that. Like all of that. when they doing that, you know they desperate. You know they desperate. When they doing that, because when 9/11 went down, they wasn't doing none of that. They just did it. You know what I'm saying? And there was little signs that it was gonna go down before that, but you had to really do the knowledge, like the fact none of the fucking Arabs was no Arab taxis was in New York that day. What's up with that? All the Arab taxi drivers seem to have missed work that day. What's up with that? Same thing. A lot of the so-called Jewish people that worked in these buildings, a lot of them people allegedly didn't show up to work that day. So maybe somebody got a text, a smoke signal, some shit, something. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like everybody ain't know. Somebody knew. You know? And them people ain't go to work that day. But other people wasn't in the know, and they wound up going. And the rest is history, you know? And then they use that to confiscate our nail clippers and shit at the airport. Like, this how crazy it is. Like, these niggas took over the planes with nail clippers and shit and baby lotion. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just was making up anything, and people was going along with it because that's what people do. Because they know they control these niggas. They control these niggas, man. They control them. You know what I mean? We're all of us. Let's keep it all the way real. If you're in third density right now, right, in any type of situation, if you exist in third density, then you are subject of, right, third density itself. Anything can happen to you here. You understand? Anything can happen to you. You could be walking down the street, a piano fall on your head. Like, you don't know, because you don't have control over the physical environment the way that we are being told that we do. We do in certain instances, but you have to keep that instance up. Like, if you were given the obscene, omnipotent, omniscient power of the Most High, you know what type of responsibility that is? You got to make sure the flowers bloom on time. You got to make sure the water is always there. You got to keep the firmament split. You got to do a lot of different stuff. Yeah. So what they do is, what they used to do was replace the truth with the lies, right? Where you could see something that was not true or whatever, and then it would be like, oh, this is what it really was, right? Now what they doing, they're replacing the lies with the truth. They just flooding you with so much truth that you don't believe it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Think about it. You can't say they lying, right? They're not lying. They telling you the truth. They telling you, look, the snow, we making snow. We got direct energy weapons. We doing everything we can to destroy you. We done paid the FDA off. We done paid the CDC off to kill you. To kill you. Like, think about it. Like, okay, you know the science on the fruit. Like, when you go and get the fruit in the supermarket and stuff, all that shit GMO. The only shit that's not GMO is the shit with the 9 on it, right? But even with the 9 on it, it's organic. But what makes it messed up is that they have been put in this thing called MCP in your food since Clinton. Since Clinton era, they've been putting this in there. And it makes it so that way the food can be preserved and stay fresh for up to 3 years. So you could have an organic apple, right? But it don't mean that apple was organically picked like in the last month. That shit might be 3 years old. But the MCP is keeping it from breaking down. But the problem is, you're supposed to eat food that is biodegradable. That's why it's called that. It's called that for a reason. It needs to biodegrade because it helps the good gut flora break up certain stuff within yourself. Right? But they don't want that. They want to kill everybody. And the wild shit is, I'm like, how are you guys poisoning everything on the planet that you can and then expect to still be here and live on it? Like, y'all still got children. It's not like every day y'all niggas got y'all shit so worked out that you're able to not get a GMO plum once in a while. Like, that's going to happen to you and your peoples. So you're really poisoning yourself. So really, they're trying to kill themselves too. You know how crazy that is? It's insane. That's right. That's what I'm saying. Y'all niggas is breathing the same air. It's not like y'all go to a different part of California and y'all got different air. It's not like even when you go to Antarctica and you do the other shit. Like, even there, you still breathing the same air we all breathing, man. These same people talking about reducing carbon footprint and shit like that. These are the same people getting on private jets, right? Going all over the planet doing shit. Doing rituals or whatever it's that they're doing. Like, it's a joke. It's really a joke, these people. It's really stupid. And so they got these commies ready to basically set it off at the border. Where the issue, think about how stupid this looks to other nations. Like, you look stupid. So you're going to fight your own citizens to stop them from stopping an invasion in your tenure. Like, that's treason. Fuck impeachment. This nigga is committing straight treason. He is opening up the country for invasion. How deliberate do you have to be? How explicitly apparent does something have to be labeled a crime now? You see what I'm saying? So of course Texas is going to do it. And Abbott, the governor, that nigga's like Professor X. He be in the wheelchair. He don't seem like he's stressing it. Seem like he know. Like, if this shit go down, you already know. We trying to break away from the United States anyway. Texas trying to do that anyway. Yeah, guys, thank you. Yes, Nicola, yes. You escaped New York. Yes. That's what that movie was about. That's why I liked that movie so much growing up. And that shit, in the movie, the date for that happening was 1997. Think about that. Escape from New York allegedly happened in 97. Like, they've been telling you they turning that place to a prison. And y'all niggas still there? Y'all still gonna live there? They just passed a law that said that they could just bag you up and put injects in drugs and shit in you, and there's nothing you can do, and they can keep you as long as they want. And all. Who said that? That goes totally against every tenet of their constitution that they allegedly follow. And New Yorkers just gonna sit there and let them do it? Also, what? So they could take you out of your house and then put an immigrant in there? Y'all don't see the grift that they setting up for y'all?